Now we'll begin with security matters, where troops in charge of maintaining peace in Plateau State on Tuesday said the Special Military Task Force has in the past week neutralized 7 bandits and arrested 33 others in various operations across the state and parts of neighboring Kaduna State. The spokesman for the Military Task Force, Captain Oya James, disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday. James said the troops also rescued 15 kidnapped victims and foiled attacks in 3 vulnerable communities during the period. According to him, on the 13th of November, troops acting on a tip-off arrested one Suleiman Mohammed in possession of one AK-47 rifle and a mobile phone in the Bakin Kogi area, Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State. James also said troops on the 13th of November equally arrested 5 suspects in connection with a criminal attack on one Sati Pewa at his farm at Tileng Part village in Mango local government area of Plateau State. He added that on 14th November, troops conducted a raid operation at Tileng Part village in Poshit district of Mango LGA, Plateau State, and arrested one Umurana Adamu in possession of an AK-47 rifle, 1 magazine, and 9 rounds of 7.62mm special. Captain James also added that on the same day, troops acting on credible information arrested a suspected arms dealer named Rufai Abdullahi at Kamoro area in Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State. Still on security matters, a combined team of the Benue Police and Vigilante groups has arrested 3 additional masterminds of the October lethal bank robbery at Otukpo in Benue State. The military and police in Otukpo had earlier arrested 4 suspects, bringing the number of suspects in their custody to 7. Recall that armed robbers numbering over 15 had attacked 4 financial institutions in Otukpo in October, during which over 15 persons, including 3 police personnel, were massacred. The suspects were apprehended on Tuesday by a joint security operation involving the Inspector General of Police Response Team in Katsina Alau area of Benue State. And now to legislative matters. 1 week after lawmakers from the House of Representatives were left fuming over the refusal of the nation's service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police to appear before them, all military heads and the Inspector General of Police have finally appeared to brief lawmakers on plans to curb the rising security challenges in the country. The service chiefs identified several challenges that have impeded the success of operations and called for lawmakers' support to surmount them. The report.
Appearing before the lawmakers for the sectorial briefing, which aims to give account of stewardship, are the Chiefs of Defense, Army, Naval and Air Staff, as well as the Inspector General of Police. Taking turns to address the House on their activities and efforts to address security challenges, the Inspector General of Police identified paucity of funds, which he says has led to poor manpower, logistics, training of personnel, and poor welfare for personnel.
We have 1,537 police divisional headquarters across 774 local governments in Nigeria. But getting vehicles, operational vehicles, for the division is difficult.
He, however, said despite these challenges, the police have, under his leadership, within the last 5 months, recorded successes which needed to be sustained with the support of the lawmakers.
We have been doing our best to protect lives and properties across the country. We have been responding to the best of our ability. Unfortunately, no agency can perform beyond the limit of resources available to it.
While wheeling out the efforts of the military in curbing insecurity, the Chief of Defense Staff said the military has succeeded in capturing all areas previously held captive by terrorist groups. He expressed worry over the activities of one of the leaders of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Simon Ekpa, currently in Finland, saying this is causing harm to the military.
No territory in Nigeria is being held by the terrorists. That is very clear. No terrorists. We may have them moving here and there, but none that is under their command. The DDR, the disarmament program for the surrendered terrorists is what is being awaited. Processes are being done and it's continuing.
After being grilled by lawmakers over concerns, the session dissolved to an executive one.
Meanwhile, there was mild drama at the upper chamber of the National Assembly on Tuesday following the emergence of Abba Moro of the opposition People's Democratic Party, as he was announced as the new minority leader by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. This followed the replacement of senators who had lost their seats to court cases at the end of the election season. Let's take a look at the report.
Abba Moro, who represents Benue South Senatorial District, replaced Simon Nwatkun, representing Plateau North, under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, who was sacked by court on October 23rd.
About 30 of them have also signed, nominating Senator Ositangu as the Senate Minority Whip. Therefore, it's my privilege to announce that they have a temporary replacement of Senator Ositangu as the Senate Minority Whip. Please. The senior Senator Ositangu, please take your seat as the Minority Whip.
An uproar, however, ensued in the upper chamber when Osita Ungu of the People's Democratic Party, Enugu West, was announced as Senate Minority Whip, replacing Darlington Nwokocha of the Labour Party. Okechukwu Eze from Enugu North, who rose to fourth nomination, was backed by Tony Nwoye of the Labour Party, who equally rose to challenge the sitting of the three of the minority leadership positions to the People's Democratic Party, leaving the Labour Party with no representation in the Senate leadership.
Are we your slaves? The way you were elected was the way you were elected. Are we your slaves? How else you can suspend me here? Are we your slaves? Every time you keep on picking leadership for us. We are not your slaves. Whether you like it or not, the way you were elected was the way we were elected. We are not your slaves.
After some senators pacified Nwoye, Akpabio explained that the two minority leaders had shown the signatories of senators who agreed with the decision.
You need to know that all you need to produce a leader is majority. If you are like 48 or 49 and 30 people have signed for one person, what is the magic that you say it should not be announced? If you are like 48 or 49 and 41 people have signed for Abba Moro, what is the reason why you say the Senate President should not announce? It's not everybody that will agree, but majority have agreed.
Meanwhile, the state has urged the federal government to immortalize the designer of the national flag, the late Pa Taiwo Akikumi, who passed on August 29, 2023. The lawmaker, after the motion moved by Sharafuddin Abiodun representing Oyo South, observed a minute silence, urging the government to conduct a state burial in his honor for his befitting role in the design of the national flag.
Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Moses Thomas Sule, and his deputy, Guotong, have resigned their positions. The member representing Pangshin North, Gabriel Dewang, was subsequently elected as the new Speaker of the Assembly. Timothy Dantong, representing Riyom constituency, emerged the new Deputy Speaker of Assembly. Although the details of the resignations are still sketchy as at press time, the development may not be unconnected to the political instability in the state. Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara has pledged to remain focused in his bid to execute development projects in the state, despite the appeal court judgment which declared the March 18 election inconclusive. Lawal stated this when he addressed a group of party faithful in Gusau shortly after his return from Abuja. He called on supporters to remain calm and law-abiding, saying the People's Democratic Party would emerge victorious even if the rerun was to cover the entire state. Recall that the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja had declared the governorship election held in Zamfara on March 18 inconclusive. The three-member panel, led by Justice Oyebisi Folayemi and supported by Justice Cordelia Ifoma Jombo-Ofo and Justice Sibyl Mwaka Gbagi, nullified the return of Lawal as the winner of the governorship poll. The court ordered a fresh election in 3 local government areas where elections had not been held previously, or results from various polling units were not counted. Now, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the February 25 election, Peter Obi, says Nigeria's governance deficit requires collaborative effort amongst the political class to salvage the nation from precarious socio-economic and political doldrums. Obi spoke on the sidelines of the preparations for the centenary celebration of political party evolution in the country by the Inter-Party Advisory Council. He said the nation's political compass was heading in the wrong direction, a situation which he stressed must be addressed. Trustee vs. Shafiu Suleiman has details of this report.
Nigeria is projected to witness rising hunger and starvation. These are the current economic realities in the country. The Labour Party presidential candidate says the excruciating high cost of living is worrisome despite the country's potentials to do better.
In a situation where you have a looming crisis and we're playing about it, we've been warned of we're going to face hunger next year. We're using almost 100% of our revenue to service debts, and nobody can say how we pay the debts, what we use it for. In a place where, instead of putting our money, we've now been told we are bankrupt. Instead of now behaving like people who are bankrupt, we are still behaving like people who are still affluent. Because bankrupt people should be now be downsizing all expenditures that is not critical for development.
Obi is calling on the political elite to unite irrespective of party affiliation. The Labour Party presidential candidate believes the ruling party is taking Nigerians for a ride. On one hand, he points out that the administration is raising bankruptcy alarms, but on the other hand, it is engaging in what he calls an extravagant leadership style.
For example, if you look at democracy in America, where we even copied this presidential system of government, there's so many things that we've abandoned. If today you're president of America, you can't just, I've never heard in America that they bought vehicles for legislators. You can't just buy cars anyhow. I have never heard you can't buy cars for first lady anyhow. There's no, in fact in America there's no office called Office of First Lady. It exists in name. And for the purpose of accompanying the president to trips. Not just to have an office created with enormous budgets that are even beyond critical areas of development.
Peter Obi, while subscribing to the position of former President Olusegun Obasanjo on the workability of democratic rule in the country, tasked the leadership of the Inter-Party Advisory Council to rise up against anti-democratic tendencies as part of its core mandate. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Still ahead, we'll take a look at ways to combat reduction in misuse and overuse of antibiotics in humans. More news when we do return. Stay with us.
Are you interested in the latest news and developments in Nigerian politics, policy, governance and other critical national issues? Look no further than Daily Politics on Trust TV. Our panel of experts and key people in government provide in-depth analysis and commentary on the biggest stories in Nigerian politics.
And 33.3 million Nigerians are suffering from multidimensional poverty.
It's a much calmer Buhari than the Buhari who was in the khaki uniform.
Naira to Naira exchange rate is higher anywhere in the world. The Naira is higher than dollar exchange rate. So you want to change central bank governor you're doing, you must do it fast.
Number of casualties we have had, we shouldn't have had. Security as far as Nigeria is concerned, we have wronged.
From the inner workings of government to the latest on legislation, rule of law, implementation and democracy, we have you covered. Don't miss out on the latest political news and discussion. Tune in to Daily Politics, weekdays on Trust TV, your source for reliable and unbiased coverage of Nigerian politics.
That's great.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust Television. Here is a recap of some of our top stories. We told you that military troops kill 7 bandits, arrest 33 others in Kaduna, Plateau. Senator Abba Moro emerges as new Senate Minority Leader. Moving on to more news stories and now to environmental matters. 1 year after the introduction of climate change study into the curriculum of junior secondary school by the United Nations Children's Fund, nature enthusiasts have engaged in massive tree planting and other environmental protection strategy in Bauchi and Gombe states. Adamu Imam files in the report.
As part of this year's World Children's Day celebration globally with focus on how climate change affects children, the United Nations agency took some selected schools in northern part of Bauchi State. Teachers said that climate change study have reawakened their students in addressing climate change within their schools and communities. While nurturing economic trees already planted in a garden with the support from UNICEF, some students say water supply is their major challenge within the school environment, while other students in Gombe State were supported during the tree plantation within their school communities.
This is the reason why school established this garden, because we want to show these students what are the climate change that we are facing in our various community. We come to this garden to show them how to eradicate it.
They always teach us how to mitigate the effects of climate change by planting and nursing trees. Presently, I have planted moringa, an economic tree inside and outside our home. It freshens the air within our environment.
They have been testing us in class what they usually tells us about soil erosion and desertification, and the reason for these trees is to prevent the danger of environmental degradation and gives protection to other beings. Stakeholders also say teaching students about climate change at the junior level will avert imminent dangers in the future. Highlights of the children's celebration was the presentation of gifts to winners of inter-school science quiz competition on climate change subjects. Adami Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
And to health matters, stakeholders in the nation's health sector have called for a reduction in the misuse and overuse of antibiotics in humans and animals as concerns over the increased spread of antimicrobial resistance increases. At the annual commemoration of the World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, these stakeholders are advocating for improved understanding of AMR as concerns about its negative effect on the environment increases. Let's take a look at the report. Antibiotics are widely used for the treatment of infections in humans and animals. Experts say misuse and overuse of these drugs lead to antimicrobial resistance, whereby the drugs are ineffective against disease pathogens, as statistics show that the abuse of these drugs are rampant amongst middle and low-class Nigerians with limited access to hospitals, leading to a public health threat. This now begs the question of the way forward for control. Factors such as self-medication, low level of health awareness, lack of access to clean water, sanitation and hygiene, poor infection prevention and control practices, and poor waste disposal practice are believed to likely contribute to antimicrobial resistance.
Our citizens should not just walk into a chemist or pharmacy and just make demand for antibiotics, because if you come to us and you ask for any antibiotics, we'll sell for you. They are OTC drugs, but you should tell us what is wrong with you, and then we'll prescribe the right dose and the right antibiotic for that particular illness.
The discharge of antibiotics and other antimicrobial compounds, such as disinfectants and heavy metals, into the environment has the potential to drive the evolution of resistant bacteria. These compounds are present in water, soil, pharmaceutical industrial effluent, and hospital waste.
On the One Health multi-sectoral approach, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in collaboration with ministries, departments and agencies across agriculture, environment, water resources, health and other partners, are concerned about the rise and spread of AMR.
Almost 64,500 deaths they are attributable, and 263,400 deaths which are associated with AMR. The GDP loss attributable to AMR in developing countries, including Nigeria, has been forecasted to be 5 to 7% by 2050.
Components of the 5-year National Action Plan 2.0 and expansion of national surveillance are among solutions to curb the AMR spread.
Without having a full representative data, we are still challenged in terms of advocacy efforts to get the necessary action for policy actions, and even to attract the resources that are required to tackle this really big problem. Strengthening private sector involvement in AMR activities, integrating multi-sectoral AMR surveillance and response activities.
We've been able to bring to the fore the issue of the AWARE classification, which is the access, watch and reserve groups for antibiotics. And we believe that this effort, which the Federal Ministry of Health has championed, is one of the ways that when the classifications are incorporated into the essentials medicine lists at the national level, that we can be sure that prescriptions do not target antibiotics that can easily go bad or that we need in the most critical patients who are in the intensive care units.
To effectively curb the menace, experts want all sectors to join forces and encourage the prudent use of antimicrobials and preventive measures. And in business, the National Bureau of Statistics says it has started gathering data for the production of National Strategy for the Development of Statistics Phase 3 for 2024 to 2028. Statistician General of the Federation, Adeyemi Adeniran, said the data drive would be inclusive, forward-thinking and relevant to the needs of all states in the Federation. Speaking on Tuesday at the Southern Stakeholders Engagement Workshop in Uyo, Adeniran said, unlike the previous ones, the process of developing the new document would involve stakeholders' consultations and inclusions, adding that vulnerable and physically challenged persons would be captured. He explained that the new statistics would guide government in policy formulation, resource allocation, and progress evaluation. And now away from Nigeria, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Tuesday accused Israel of war crimes and genocide in Gaza as he chaired an extraordinary summit of the BRICS group of nations on Tuesday. Pretoria is hosting a virtual meeting of BRICS, a group of major emerging economies that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, aimed at drawing up a common response to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Fighting has raged in Gaza after Hamas gunmen killed around 1,200 people, mostly civilians, during cross-border raids on October 7, the deadliest attack in Israel's history. In retaliation, Israel launched a relentless bombing campaign and ground offensive in Gaza, which is ruled by Hamas. According to Hamas, the war has killed more than 13,300 people. Thousands of them are children. Ramaphosa called for an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire and the deployment of a United Nations force to monitor the cessation of hostilities and protect civilians.
Civilians through the unlawful use of force by Israel is a war crime. The deliberate denial of medicine, fuel, food, and water to the residents of Gaza is tantamount to genocide.
In sports, Rivers United will entertain Angolan side Academica de Lobito in the CAF Confederation Cup on Sunday. The Group C Match Day 1 contest is slated for the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo. The encounter will kick off at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Tunisian side Club African and Dreams FC of Ghana will face off in the other group game. The top two teams in the group will qualify for the quarterfinals. Rivers United made it to the last 8 last season. And now still in sports, Bayer Leverkusen striker Victor Boniface is in the running for the Emerging Player of the Year award at the 2023 Globe Soccer Awards. 25 other players are also in contention for the award. Boniface has been in fantastic form for Bayer Leverkusen in this season. He has scored 11 goals and provided 6 assists in 16 games in all competitions for Leverkusen this season. The 22-year-old, named Bundesliga Player of the Month for August, has won the Rookie of the Month prize for 3 consecutive months. His compatriot Victor Osimhen won the award last season. With that, we've come to the end of the news update at this hour. Do not forget to follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more programs, documentary, and news. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thanks for your time.